There is a house in outback Australia still listed for less than a used ute, $19,000, for the roof, the walls, the land and the keys. That number is real, and it is not a bargain. Across this country sits a second Australia built entirely on borrowed time. One metal, one railway, one mineral, one number on a thermometer. For as long as that single thing paid its way, the state built the schools, kept the hospital open, and the market set a price people could live with. Then the resource ran out, or the price collapsed, or the heat simply refused to leave. The government and the market both quietly withdrew what they had only ever lent. What is left is not a discount. It is the bill for borrowed land finally coming due. One town was erased from the map on purpose. One holds fewer than 30 people, and almost nothing is for sale. One emptied between the end of one shift and the start of the next. If you are looking at these places because the cities have become too expensive, or because you are trying to make the age pension stretch further, stay with this list until the end. Every town here has a real price, a real hospital distance, a real supermarket distance, and a real cost that never appears on the real estate photograph. Number 10. Queenstown, Tasmania. Queenstown sits on the wet west coast, inside temperate rainforest that receives some of the highest rainfall in the state. The hills around it are stripped bare, pink, grey and raw for mile after mile. For more than a century that was not a scar. It was the arrangement. Copper paid for everything. The smelters needed timber, so the forest came down. The fumes killed what tried to grow back. The rain finished the job, washing the soil away until nothing remained but rock. Today the football oval is still gravel. Locals spray any grass that appears and call it tradition. The median house price sits around $180,000 to $200,000. At the bottom end, older cottages with real history change hands for considerably less. The nearest full tertiary hospital is more than 3 hours away on winding mountain roads that close in heavy rain or snow. There is a small local hospital for emergencies, but anything serious means a long transfer. The supermarket is basic. Young people leave for Hobart or Launceston and rarely return. School enrolments keep shrinking. What remains is a town that borrowed its entire existence from one mountain and is now watching the lender step back. It killed its own hills to build itself, then turned the corpse into the only thing left to sell to tourists. Number 9. Mount Morgan, Queensland. Queenstown stripped its mountains. Mount Morgan removed the mountain completely. This town once sat on one of the richest gold and copper deposits in Australian history. Wealth taken from this single hill helped fund early oil exploration on the other side of the world. They mined until the peak was gone. Where the landmark used to stand there is now a vast open pit, a hole in the sky. The town is named after a mountain it deleted. Houses here trade between roughly $150,000 and $280,000. There is a supermarket, a school, and basic medical services. Rockhampton is only about 40 minutes away by road, which is better than most places on this list. That proximity is one of the few real advantages, but the underlying pattern is the same. The wealth never needed the people who lived here. It needed a lease and a crew. When the lease ended, the houses, the pubs and the wide verandas stayed. Borrowed infrastructure with no one left to service the debt. Number 8. Kambalda, Western Australia. This is often the cheapest real suburb in the country by median price. Kambalda was purpose-built for nickel in the 1960s. Its population and its house prices still rise and fall, with one number on a commodity screen somewhere else in the world. When nickel is high, the town breathes. Jobs return. Houses fill. When the price drops, or a battery manufacturer changes chemistry, the work dries up and the whole town discounts itself almost overnight. Median prices sit around $220,000. Individual houses still list and sell from under $100,000, sometimes well under. Kalgoorlie is about an hour away. There is a school and basic medical services, but specialist care means a longer trip to Perth or Kalgoorlie. Internet can be patchy outside the main streets. Nobody buying here is really purchasing a home. They are buying a share in a metal they will never see, tied to decisions made by people they will never meet in currencies that were never theirs. Number 7. Dysart, Queensland. Dysart is a coal town in the Bowen Basin, built to serve the mines that surround it. Population sits around 3,000. The median house price has settled in the $230,000 to $250,000 range in recent data. Rents that once hit extreme highs during the last boom have come back to more ordinary levels. There is a small hospital with an emergency department on site, which is better than many towns on this list. Mackay is roughly 2.5 to 3 hours away. Emerald is closer, about an hour and a half. There are schools and a supermarket. The value is real if you work in the industry or can live with the cycle. The risk is the same as every other single industry town here. When the mines slow, the town slows with them. The land still carries the debt of the boom years that paid for everything. Number 6, Marble Bar, Western Australia. Every town so far was shaped by what it lost. Marble Bar was shaped by something that was never a resource and can never be switched off, the heat. It is officially the hottest town in Australia. One stretch recorded 160 consecutive days above 38 degrees. Not a single cooler day across 5 whole months. The name itself is a small lie. Prospectors thought the coloured rock was marble. It was jasper. No one ever bothered to correct it. Gold once brought more than 5,000 people here. Then the coast grew and the people followed the water. The heat stayed. Property barely trades. Prices sit far below any coastal equivalent. There is a hotel that has been pouring beer since the 1890s. Everything else is distance, dust and temperature. The nearest larger centre is a long drive. Specialist medical care is a serious undertaking. The climate never lifted its terms. The market simply priced that fact in years ago. Number 5. Zeehan, Tasmania, once called the Silver City. At its peak, it held nearly 10,000 people and more pubs than most regional centres. Today, the population is around 700. The main street was built for 10 times that number. Empty shop fronts and overgrown lots still show the gap between what was and what remains. Houses list from well under $100,000. Some land blocks have sold for less than $10,000. There is a school, a small supermarket, and the West Coast Heritage Centre in the old School of Mines building. The nearest larger hospital is a significant drive away through rainforest and mountain roads that can close in bad weather. What remains is a living town inside a built environment designed for a population that has already left. The silver paid for the grandeur. The land is still carrying the bill. Number 4, Rosebery, Tasmania. Another West Coast mining town, quieter than Queenstown and wetter than most places Australians ever choose to live. Population sits around 750. Median house prices hover near $200,000, with some sales noticeably lower. The mine still operates, which keeps a core of employment that many other towns on this list no longer have. But the same pattern holds. When commodity prices soften, the town feels it first and hardest. Specialist medical care and larger shopping mean a long drive. The rainforest is beautiful, the rain is constant, the isolation is real and it does not reduce with time. Number 3, Andamuka, South Australia. An opal town in the far north of the state. Population sits around 260 people. Median house prices have recently sat near $70,000. Some properties trade even lower. Many residents live in dugouts to escape the extreme heat. The nearest larger centre is a long drive on remote roads. Services are limited. Internet is satellite and can drop out. The landscape is red, flat and unforgiving. Opal built the place. When the easy stone thinned, the surface emptied and the dugouts remained. The market priced the withdrawal years ago. This is one of the cheapest places in the country to buy a roof and one of the hardest places to live if you need regular medical care or a reliable supermarket. Number 2, Gwalia, Western Australia. In 1963, the Sons of Gwalia gold mine shut down almost overnight. Nearly 1,200 people left within days. The town became a ghost town in a single weekend. Today, roughly 24 people remain. Only a handful of houses are occupied. The rest stand as a quiet museum of what happens when the single source of the loan is cut off without warning. There is almost nothing regularly for sale because almost no one is left to sell. The land itself still holds the debt. A few determined residents keep the place from disappearing completely, but the arrangement that once supported 1,000 people is long gone. Number 1, Mintabie, South Australia. An opal town on the edge of the APY lands. At its height, hundreds of miners pulled tens of millions of dollars from the ground. A government review found serious law and order problems linked to the town. Leases were terminated. The last residents were ordered out in early 2020. By 2025, the entire township had been decommissioned and razed. Every dwelling, every secondary building, every abandoned vehicle removed. Even the highway sign pointing to the turnoff was taken down. Nothing remains. A town that once existed has been deliberately erased from the map. That is the final form of the arrangement. When the resource no longer justifies the cost, both the government and the market take back what they only ever lent. And the emptiness was always sitting underneath, waiting. There is still a house in outback Australia listed for less than a used ute, $19,000. That number is real. It is the bill for borrowed land finally coming due. If you are looking at these towns because the cities have become too expensive, the numbers are true. The hospitals are distant. The weather is extreme. The work is thin. The community is small. Internet can fail. Specialist care means hours on the road. A simple grocery run can become a day trip. Some people make it work. They accept the trade-offs and stay. Most do not. This is the second Australia that was built on borrowed time. And this is what it costs when the loan is called in. This is the empty land.